Greetings, sending you some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body Culinary, and I wanted to come on today just to share with you a really nice treat for your locks, for your hair, for fine hair, particularly if you perhaps may be thinking about trying on for size no oil in your locks. So I found like a really nice treat. It is so affordable and it's something that's accessible. So that is one of the principles over here, Afroflowonomics or Afronomics, or for anyone out there, really finding things in your garden or in your kitchen that you have access to that aren't depositing a lot of chemicals, harmful chemicals into your pores near your brain, and it also can help keep your skin clear. So if you're interested in finding out this little treat that is so expensive, stay tuned. Uh, for those of you that are new to this channel, welcome. I am Body Culinary, professional chef, personal trainer, natural born woman. However, everyone of whatever your expression is welcome here, as long as we are nice and respectful to each other. On this channel, I love to share my journey of radical self acceptance and celebration of the unique features that I popped out onto the planet with, as well as encouragement to start a garden, whatever kind of space you're in, to cultivate a personal movement practice, and perhaps to try and emphasize peaceful consumption. What that looks like for me, and you will have to find your own sweet spot, is consumption that's centered around foods that love me back. Whole, fresh, unprocessed foods. I prefer living foods, fresh, whole fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, sprouted legumes, fresh herbs. Ideally, you'd be amazed at what you can grow even in an apartment or in even a little small yard in bags and all kind of things. So I really love to encourage folks to grow something. Everyone can grow something. So also, I'm one of those folks that have had a lot of acne and hyperpigmentation, as well as fine hair, as well as coming from a family pattern and history of morbid obesity and all of the comorbidities and the problems and diseases that accompany that. So I figured out very early on that I would have to make some changes to the way that I eat. Otherwise, I could see the legacy, the pattern that was like pretty much like waiting for me. So that's caused me to become very creative and very intentional with educating myself. So let's dive into the video. Do be aware that you can find, if you're interested in how I'm consuming whole, fresh, unprocessed foods as a lifestyle, I have created a guide called Whole Living Foods in the Hood, Part 1, with menus to fit your budget. So there's pictures there. You can have ideas on whatever kind of spending plan for what kinds of things could I possibly produce with all of that fresh produce, and is it possible to live off of fresh, whole living, unprocessed foods? So I put all of my insight of several decades into that book. Also, for folks that have asked me how I was able to clip all that acne that you may see the picture in the community section with just food, not even products from the health food store, I put together something called Natural Beauty, no products, only food. So putting fresh, whole, living fruits primarily inside and also on the outside of my skin is how I was able to clear it up, right? So that has been quite a relief. So that being said, let's dive into today this treat that I have found. And this is so easy and it's so accessible. So I have here, I've made some tea that I made yesterday. And this particular tea is jasmine tea. This is very easy to get at a health food store, or likely you can find it at any grocery store. It is so expensive. I don't think it's maybe $2 or $3 for a whole box of tea bags. And the smell of this is so exquisite. It smells just like jasmine flowers. So it's technically jasmine and a black tea. It's all natural. And so perhaps if you're looking for something to moisturize your hair without the oil, this smells so divine. It's like something like perfume water, a water, but it's just the tea. It's just the tea. And black tea can, as I was researching, it can be very good for grays. It can also be very good for strengthening the hair. So I keep this in a spritz bottle and I put it inside of the refrigerator. So it's nice, especially when it's hot outside. It's very refreshing to your hair. It doesn't strip the hair. And I kind of always think, like, rose water is great. Ideally, I think you want your own roses. So that's another thing to put on the garden list. However, if we think, a lot of us are going for, I think with the rose water, one, the fact that it's distilled water. So that would mean that it's not depositing all kinds of mineral deposits into the hair. And then the other thing is the fragrance. So rose water, it has a scent, but I find it's really, really subtle. I find this has a much more beautiful scent, the jasmine tea. So I'm getting some strengthening properties. Some folks are even using it for gray hair. So this is so expensive. And if I want to, this is really also good to refresh my face with a piece of cotton. So I'm always looking for things that are coming from my garden and my kitchen to put on myself, so I know exactly, what's going in, and that way I can track and trace what's going on with my body temple. So this smells so divine. And I literally, I just washed my hair, and so it's no oil in it, so it dries. I'm gonna splash of water on the computer. It dries very quickly. And also, what I'll say is that, being not having a lot of oil, I don't have a bunch of buildup. The hair is very, very light, which is helpful when it's hot outside. But also, there's a freedom. There's definitely a freedom that comes with this hair, and it's really wonderful if you have very fine hair. If you're concerned about thinning or balding due to too much handling. This to me is the ultimate protective hairstyle without me having to spend hours adding something in. And then when the new hair grows, you're kind of ripping the hair out and traumatizing the hair when you go to take out the braids. I know for me that I find that very, very traumatizing. It's just too much. It's so much. And it's not that I don't mind, or that I mind nurturing and grooming myself, but I'm like, that's just a lot of time, energy, and money. I can take those resources and time and reallocate it to the garden and also to my movement practice, which, by the way, we're moving in the morning. I hit it and quit it workout Monday through Thursday, from 4:15 to 4:55. So you'd be amazed at how bleeding with sweat you will get in those 40 minutes. So feel free to join us and register for class over at body-culinary.com. So this tea, all I'm doing is a spritz in the hair. So I blot my hair with a towel. And now I'm actually starting to see why people say t-shirts. Now that my hair has a little length to it, I think t-shirts, either black towels or t-shirts, because the hair itself can catch onto things, and lint can't get embedded in your locks. So now I'm starting to see part of the wisdom in using a t-shirt. So I'm only squeezing it dry, and it dries very quickly because there's no oil embedded into the hair. So I would love to hear if you try this out. The scent is like, it's a magnificent scent. Jasmine is also the scent of love. And I find the scent of the tea is much more subtle and not so perfumey as putting jasmine perfume oil on. So jasmine tea. Now, also, when I'm thinking of moisture, I never think of just doing things topically to myself. I'm always, always, always thinking primarily of health as my number one beauty product. So my movement practice, in addition to the whole fresh, living, unprocessed foods, they go hand in hand. They're not exclusive of each other. So my movement practice is how I'm circulating my other forms of moisture. So these are just two forms of moisture. These are regular items that go on my body pretty much every day, right? Cucumbers, uh, coconut, the tomatoes, all of that whole fresh produce has whole fresh living water. I know folks are always like, what do I mean by living water? That's what I mean by fresh living water. Like, to me, at least in my world, in my brain, I don't see how any water, even water that's distilled, right, where they boil it and then take a steam distiller and bring the water back together. So now you don't have the impurities of it. I don't see how even distilled water, or water that's been sitting on a shelf inside of a warehouse for years or months inside of plastic, could ever top living water. It's not the same. So that water ultimately is superior, so that my body is not dried out. So when I'm thinking of moisture, I'm moisturizing from the inside, and then also my movement practice is circulating that. So also, we always have our water in a wine glass, and the first thing in the morning, I love to put Jamaican lime, if you have that available, any old kind of lime, but I can taste the difference in different types of produce. So I always want to use what is the most exciting. So Jamaican lime, because of the color and there's so much seeds in it, I just can taste all the subtleties in the different produce, which actually keeps me very excited. It's one of the reasons why I'm not bored with what I'm eating. For there are just very many reasons why I enjoy, and I say it's a very fun lifestyle. So again, today our moisture is, we always have our standard water in a wine glass. We have our jasmine tea, so inexpensive. You can find it at any grocery store. I'm making the tea like 2 or 3 tea bags to a little pot of water. If you want, you can make it a little darker if you want to perhaps spritz your grays, because I don't plan on dyeing anything as grays come in. And then these are two of my other favorites from the inside. I'm never only just looking to moisturize myself from the outside topically, because everything from the inside is going to come out to the surface. So if we're very dried out from so much salt or eating so much very condensed, overly starchy food that are foods and substances masquerading as food that are devoid of water, then how much sense does it make to continually put things on topically when everything is coming from the inside to the out? And so if everything is dried and salty and greasy and heavy, then how can we expect to be moisturized? That doesn't make any sense. And then to add to that, if we're not moving. So you see, this is how, at least in my little world, how it's everything is just so. This is why I will say health is our number one beauty product. And so, lastly, I want to say today, as we move forward, is relaxation. Relaxation. Our body's response to stress. Some of you may or may not know about cortisol, right? It's a hormone that allows us to put a lot of adipose tissue and bloat around the belly. And that's the most dangerous area to have additional fatty tissue or adipose tissue, because it is a precursor for diabetes and high blood pressure. Not so much the arms and the legs, but when we're accumulating that extra fat and we're starting to get an overhang, that's a very dangerous place to hold fat, is in our stomach area. So when we're stressed, in general, a lot of our behaviors are driven from our subconscious. We have a lot of mindless activity. It doesn't make us bad people. So if we're stressed, we're likely reaching for things that are drying the body out. We're likely reaching for soda pop, or we're likely reaching for crunchy chips and salt, right? And these different foods or substances masquerading as food, we're reaching out to not so much for nutrition, but to sewage, or to calm, or to neutralize, or to numb out certain emotions. So, notice a lot of these things are very drying to the body. So, in my practice as a personal trainer and as a nutrition coach, there's a big part of my practice that goes into unpacking our consumption patterns and why and how, what state of mind, where are we emotionally when we are consuming. It's easy for any trainer, or it's easy today to go online and to download a meal plan, right? Or you see a body type that you like, or a personality that you like, or someone's makeup that you like, and just ask them what they're eating and to mimic it. However, in my personal observation and my practice of years, I'm always looking to see why people get the results that they get, and who is able to sustain it. Particularly as working as a trainer, but not only as a trainer, as a chef, and working in a holistic health center for years, where we did different types of fasting and nutritional fasting programs. So, first of all, many people did not change their food or their intake, even when they had unhealthy diagnoses, because they didn't like the food, or the food is such a huge pacifier, right? It's such a huge pacifier. So you can see, or I've observed, without making us bad or wrong, in a lot of our greetings and our resistance to, and we say accountability, but more than accountability, let's because that can be loaded with internal judgments. with the awareness, right? There's a resistance to, part of us wants to become aware, but part of us doesn't want to become aware because we want to be in a state of just soothing, 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 soothing. Perhaps without realizing, well, what is there to soothe? Why is there something to soothe? Why is there the need to medicate? I invite you to consider, why is it a need to medicate and what happens if I remove the need to medicate? However, a lot of our patterns have become so familiar, we almost can't imagine ourselves, even though we may say we want to be, we almost can't imagine ourselves without our familiar people pacifiers and our junk food pacifiers or our alcohol pacifiers or whatever other kinds of substances we are using to cope. They become so familiar and even sometimes socially familiar, we just can't imagine a life without them. So, for example, your cocoon practice or your relaxation practice, there's no crutches, and you create a relaxed space. Perhaps we could even say a safe space or a space that is approachable by our ego. That part of us that is very knee jerk with reflexes. We're providing space for relaxation to allow the different. Some people say voices, but the communications of our divine onboard innate intelligence to come to the surface for examination, so you can unpack why you're doing what you're doing. The knee jerk reactions that are not really from a place of hunger for physical food. Sometimes it's relaxation or it's agitation. So we're moving at such a pace that it doesn't necessarily allow for us to unpack it. So the only one that really has a vested interest in you unpacking the knee jerk reactions or the patterns is you. So that it is quite something to take on. And are you in a tropical environment? Right now, yes. Greetings, Jaleesa and Thembika. Thembika, Cocoon. I got your information. Cocoon is on the calendar. Cocoon is on the calendar. So you're welcome to join in. Once you register, I will send you a private link. That is not going to be on YouTube because I think it's very, very important that folks, all people, but in particular that women, that we have a safe space to relax and to process. And everything does not need to be front and center online and on YouTube. And so you can just feel safe and relaxed. So Cocoon is on the calendar, Thembika. Is it better to remove oneself from a stressful situation to use techniques to deal with it? I would say both. I would say both. I have a simple principle, or a lot of times I acknowledge my godparents and my grandma Lou. These were individuals I was watching them when they didn't know I was watching. Not perfect human beings, however, but however they've given me, they have been consistent, the most consistent human beings walking and living in the flesh that I know. I observed them fully self-expressed, actualized, having a lot to give, even beyond themselves. I mean, they have really set a bar for me. So I always share them when I come across other people. And they've deposited, give me a lot of nuggets that have served me for years and continue to be like the gift that keeps giving. Like just wisdom, which is not the same thing as information, and a litmus test by which I can put through my filter. So I think there are definitely some quote unquote techniques or patterns or um, a litmus test, and I would say principles more so than people. So more so than just being attached even to my godparents or to my grandma Lou or even to me or my coaches. Principles, I say, over people. They've given me some principles that I can use for a litmus test, so that I don't have to be hooked on any cults, personalities, preachers, celebrities. They give me clarity, and clarity is worth more than its weight in gold. So yes, I think there are definitely some, I don't want to say, we can say techniques, maybe there's another word, but yes, there are some ways and some practices that we can have. However, I find quite often we're more intellectual. We intellectualize diets. We intellectualize a workout. We intellectualize and ruminate, obsess, And this can happen to me even after all these years. Fortunately, I build certain habits into my patterns, right? So I build movement into my day. I build healthy eating into my day. It's amazing. And I'm so blessed that I don't even have junk food in my home and I haven't eaten it for years. I'm not drawn to it at all. And I was a junk food junkie. So that has been very intentional. And I would say I've intentionally educated myself and given myself different kinds of experiences, right? To get me out of just intellectualizing and having a different experience, right? Because a lot of times we're moving based off of our old experiences. And when you have a new experience, for example, of your food being so delicious and it's beautiful and it's healthy. So what happens? You start constantly having what the light bulbs, like, for example, oh my gosh, this is so delicious. I could have been eating this the whole time. Or certain types of the cakes, the goddess cakes. We just had the workshop this past week. That's going to be available. It's like if I would have known about whole living foods and had access to fresh pineapple and cherries, there would have been no need for me to eat all those now-laters that gave me cavities. You know what I'm saying? So I've given myself different experiences. I've experienced beautiful food being very affordable and accessible. Thanks to Grandma Lou. She wasn't vegan or vegetarian. However, she's one of my guiding lights for why I consume the way that I do. Just looking at Grandma Lou, I felt like eating beautiful food and healthy food should not have to be so expensive. That just doesn't make sense to me. So that rubric or that litmus test comes from my grandma, the principles with how she lived and feeding people and sharing food with people. So when I'm feeding children and feeding my coworkers or sharing food, they're like, wow, this is really delicious. So it's constant epiphanies. I'm like, are you sure there's no meat in here? Are you sure there's no this in there? You don't drink coffee? I don't need to, because I have so much to look forward to, and it's a lifestyle. You'll have to find your own sweet spot. So I'm sharing some of my experience. And then also there's the freedom. There's a freedom that comes with light hair. There's a freedom for me that I find, and I can appreciate folks that eat differently, different types of religious practices. I found a sweet spot for me, and I'm sure I'll tweak it until I exit and put down my human suit. But I have found I feel free, and I love my own eyebrows and eyelashes. From time to time, I may play with my mascara, maybe some eyeliner, but I like the feeling of my skin fresh. And I always want to be able to really dote on myself and love and appreciate my skin, even when I'm 100 and when I have lots of wrinkles. I like appreciating myself. That's for me. That's for me. It's not about other people. It's not about their approval. That's nice. I'm human. But when I can feel a freedom is very important to me. And the freedom and the sovereignty of my hair and deciding to trade off and let go of beauty for confidence and health. Because we're at our most attractive when we are healthy. So that's why I will constantly say health is my number one beauty product. So your relaxation practice, right? Even if that's a few minutes a day, is very, very helpful. And as I've said on this channel before, I invite you. There's so much competing. I think we're taking a lot for granted. There's a lot that is competing for your attention, for real estate in your brain. Real estate when it comes to your esteem. Your esteem quite often is hijacked. Next thing, you're online shopping for a lot more stuff that we don't need. The other day, I don't care for clutter, but I have a lot of things that I like. But I was thinking like it's too much. I put together just very, very quickly, a whole big bag of stuff that's gonna go to somebody because I don't need it. I prioritize space in my brain, and relaxation is so key. It doesn't have to be a big production, but having too much stuff, too much clutter. I observe my thoughts if I feel like I have to have this and I gotta buy more. It's like when I used to be at the beauty supply stores with natural hair, looking for like more baubles and stuff to put in my hair. So sometimes just taking a nice relaxing shower and slathering myself with oils and moisturizing my face and looking into my own face and my skin and appreciating it, even as it goes through the different phases, it brings me tremendous relaxation, like to be able to calm down. We are constantly in a state of triggeration. That's the environment that we're in, because you can be triggered to spend, you can be triggered into fear, you can be triggered, to doing things that you're unsure about. You can be triggered into placing yourself in harm's way. So relaxation is a health product. Your consumption practice, your garden, your movement practice, your vigorous joyous movement, your eating patterns, your relaxation, and your garden, to me, are, and it's been consistent, are the deepest, most therapeutic things that I can come up with. And also sometimes just checking at the door, this thing of, and we're human. However, I question certain things, that anything that's going to have me put myself in harm's way, or I'm hanging on to, you know, somebody else outside of me has to validate me. I just made a conscious decision. I've taken that off the table. I validate me. That's it. It's like, this environment. People could come on and make their comments. I think you're ugly. I hate your hair. It's an interesting climate, this internet. I make an effort to make a positive use of the internet. However, just like a lot of fright, fear, insecurity has folks spewing all kinds of stuff out on each other. So again, that's why I have decided to take beauty off the table and swap it for health and confidence. For me, on my journey, you'll find your own. A big part of that has been radical self acceptance. It's very important to me to be very comfortable with my toes, my breasts, my nose, my hair, my lisp. I have a juicy mouth and a lisp, so you may hear me smacking. So that's what it is. That's what it is. So, my laugh, can you feel comfortable in your own skin? Relaxation is a health product. Is a health product. So that being said, to move forward on this video, and for some folks like, oh, the videos are too long. I'm putting out videos primarily because it's something that I want to do and that I want to share. So I think it's important that folks go where you feel something resonates with you if the videos are too long. Because a lot of times I'm just moving on the vibe. Some people say, Spirit, I move on the vibe. It might be short and long. If I go into my perfectionist state, I will never post anything on YouTube. So that being said, it's going to take a few moments. You're welcome to join me for a little bit of relaxation. Um, yeah, this is something I had started before on YouTube, relaxation practice. And I pulled back a bit because I can only be online but so long. We're doing more of it in Cocoon. Maybe I'll bring it back. We'll see. Or add it before, because I'm already an early riser, to before the workouts, the hit it and quit it workout. And then also I may add another cardio session after. But I always like to incorporate some relaxation or breathing very intentionally. And then also contemplation. Contemplation is asking a question of your own divine onboard innate intelligence and allowing your intelligence to bubble up whatever the answer, the solution, or the insight is on its own. No middleman or middlewoman required. So you're welcome to take a comfortable position on the floor. You may need to, or chair, you may need to put a yoga block underneath your glutes. If your knees are really tight and your hips are tight, that will allow your hips to open. And we're going to be breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, not through the mouth. So kind of if you think of Darth Vader or holding your ear to a conch shell, you're welcome to get your spine set into an upright position, to roll your shoulders around, down and back so that you have a lot of space between your ear and your shoulder. You're welcome to gently take your belly button and gently pull it in so that it's close to your spine, so that your organs are giving support to your lower back. You're welcome to keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels most natural for you. Don't be alarmed if you start moving all over the place or if you fall asleep. We want to make an effort to observe and see if our inhale can measure and be just as deep and as long as our exhale. And with that, we're just going to breathe to set the tone for the day. So you're invited to ask a question of your own divine, on board, innate intelligence that you and every other human being was born with. Perhaps it could be something that you are working on, working through, a decision of which way to go, how to proceed with the relationship, your finances, your health, and not be attached to the answer coming up for you now. Perhaps as you're moving around, preparing your beautiful food for the day, packing up your food, or during the ritual of cleansing, you just allow it to come up. And usually, when we get very quiet, you can hear a lot of intelligence, innate divine intelligence that is our birthright. It's already there. And so when we get quiet, we have more access to it. I invite you to create a great day for yourself, a day that you can be proud of. If you were to lay down your human suit in the next moment, could you feel like your integrity with yourself, that you're doing what you're called to do? Your movement practice, your garden, what you feed yourself are tremendous tools that you have access to. You're invited to create a great day just because you said so. Whatever's going on around, I call it sometimes mind your own business fitness. So we can be fit mentally and emotionally. And a lot of the energy that is leaking outward, I invite you to reclaim some of that energy. And in your quiet moments, perhaps to be honest and assess and see if at half an hour we're losing it, or an hour on YouTube, or listening to folks' complaints. This could have been time well spent and quiet with yourself and planting a new plant, a new piece of aloe, a new herb, or taking a second or third shower and soothing yourself with oils, or laying on the floor in fetal position to nurture yourself with things that don't have anything to do with food. I invite you perhaps to replay this when you're washing your dishes or chopping your vegetables so that you can give yourself good company. One of the gems my elders, my peeps gave me was you can become a greater or lesser man based on the company that you keep. Your company makes a greater or lesser person of you. Sometimes the company could be your own thoughts. You can might be perhaps be not so good company for yourself. So it's really a choice and attention, awareness, and just choosing to be very intentional. So send you some all warm positive vibrations. Feel free to like, to comment, subscribe. Waist speeds training is coming up, which I am so excited. I'm so excited. Waist speeds training is coming up, and you can come and bless your waist speeds, but we're also going to be going over the anatomy of the womb, the connection of your womb, even perhaps if you've had some procedures done to it, the importance of the womb. So, not to exclude others. However, if you were born with a womb, or if you have a menstrual cycle and breasts that breastfeed, we're going to be talking about the health of those things and how it's connected to your vitality, how the waist beads are a cultural tool, right? Rather than just having fashion with no meaning, it can be a tool. Anything that we can use as a tool to support ourselves is a good thing. It's something proactive. Are you giving yourself, feeding yourself with things that love you back? The things that you're choosing to wear, how are they making you feel? Are you doing things to make yourself feel good? Are you in integrity with yourself? So you're welcome. Your simple practices can go a long way. So I invite you to come and move with me in the mornings. I'm thinking of, I put several things on the calendar and I have so many ideas, so I have to pace myself. But I will be inviting some folks. So if there's a good match, I will be inviting some folks into the cocoon and cocoon coaching with me to spend good quality time. So it may not be for everybody, but if you decide, you know what, I want to pull in and reclaim a lot of my energy that's going outwards, we're going to be put it like this: the time I spent sitting down at the table with Grandma Lou, she was transmitting so much values to me. She was the most beautiful human being in terms of character and focus. And so, for those folks that are interested in learning about what am I doing with living foods, my movement practice, the garden, and whatever little nuggets I may have to offer, I will be inviting some folks into Cocoon coaching. So that will not be on YouTube. That's going to be in a safe space. So if you're interested, you feel free to reach out to me. Info at body-culinary.com. Get on the mailing list so that way you will be aware of when those things go out. So there's work that's being constantly done to the website to work out the kinks. So if the class has already passed, you can register for the next one. So as far as naysayers, they're not forced to watch your channel. Nasty comments on the inside. I don't know. It's so much stuff going on. It's like it's a lot competing for our attention. We're possessed by a lot of fright and fear, and it has folks acting out. However, you have a bank account of energy. Your energy and your focus is precious energy. So we're going to move forward with that. You know, your emotions and your attention are expensive. So if we're spending a lot of that energy frivolously, we can't necessarily reclaim that and get that back. So I invite you, to try on valuing yourself. What does that look like? What does your life look like at a 10? Emotionally, mentally, physically, what kind of activities, engage with that. All right, so I will see y'all folks soon. Check out Kwasa Peaceful Eating, like full belly, Kwasa with a K, on TikTok. Body Culinary, I've been posting some of the cakes and some of the food now. I've been posting it now. So folks are asking me. I've been posting in the community section and also over on Body Culinary on Instagram. All right, folks, y'all create a great day, and I will see you soon.